Okay, so it's time to begin Chapter 6, The Gates of Paradise. Although, first off, we're going to head over to the Gates of Hell. Because, two techniques have become available to us that are going to be very, very, very helpful.
Or pleasure. Either way, I'll hook you up.
So, we can get Bat Within and Crow Within. Basically, one allows you to turn into a bat, and the other allows you to turn into a crow, clearly enough. The crow one is you jump in the air and then double tap the right trigger, and Bat Within, you gotta tap the right trigger immediately after you've taken damage. So basically it's kind of an extra way of getting into Witch Time from after dodging. So if your dodge fails, then Bat Within might take effect. So it's very, very, very useful. Neither of them are mandatory, although Crow Within is mandatory to get some of the Umbran resting places later on. And it's also very, very helpful overall that neither of them are required. So here we have the Proving Ground ruins, and from the off we have a Umbran resting place that is cheekily hidden behind us. The weapon that we're going to get from this is going to give us an achievement once we've done enough with it. Also, you need to be in Beast Within to get that Umbran Tears of Blood, so just make sure that. It took me a while, which is why you saw the nice little fade there. So here we have another Antonia's notes, so let's get on with it. Entering Vigrid. The ancient city of Vigrid is largely inaccessible, surrounded by mountains on one side and the sea to the other. While at first glance this may seem incredibly inconvenient, it is said that Vigrid flourished primarily due to the presence of strong spirit energy within the land underfoot. The Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages, each with respective control over dark and light, must have needed a land replete with this spirit energy to enable them to oversee history. The waves of time have modernised Vigrid, spurring rapid development, however its residents still avoid outside contact, preferring to maintain their own culture and religious outlook. Their only link with the outside world is a single long-distance rail line. Simply riding this train requires an application to be submitted to Vigrid authorities, and a rigorous background check is required prior to the issuance of an entrance visa, which must be carried at all times. Once disembarking from the train, there is a further police search, after which one is granted admission to the city. It seems that what allows Vigrid the ability to be so strict regarding immigration is the seemingly close link between the Vigridian authorities and the Ithavoll group, a conglomerate based in Vigrid, yet proving this link will require further investigation. So, a little bit more information there. And, so now we can begin the chapter proper. So, I believe I've mentioned that Ardor was one of the kind of early-ish humanoid enemies that they finished. But what I didn't mention was that, also, in an early demo, I think, in the kind of city part of Vigrid, there was, you could see a soul descending into an Ardor statue and bringing it to life. Something that you will probably see kind of the remains of later on. Because there is something similar that occurs. Now we've got a Umbran resting place up here with a broken witch heart in it. Very helpful. And then we've got a nice little mini puzzle with this door. Got a few little hints to tell you how to complete it, because the imprint on it looks like a paw, and also it's engraven with ASAP in what I believe is angelic script. So it's very helpful. The music in this chapter is Remains of the Witch's Training Grounds, I believe. And here we have a fight with 2 Inspireds, because, you know, they love us so much. Now, thankfully, after the hellish length that was Chapter 6... No, not Chapter 6, Chapter 5. Chapter 6 is a lot nicer. It's shorter, there's only one Alfheim to deal with, and just overall it's just easier to deal with. Because there aren't really any hugely evil enemies to have to deal with. I mean, there is the 2 Inspireds here. You will be facing a Grace and Glory a little bit later on. But other than that, it's not as horrible. I think that fact is largely due to the fact that it's not as long. So you've got more chance of keeping your health than anything else. Malphas is so cool. Although I had to say, this kind of leaving animation is a bit too long for my tastes. Now, some of you will probably be yelling at me, saying, "Ah, you're missing an Umbran resting place with a piece of the weapon in it." I know, but don't worry, I will be coming back to that soon, and you'll see why. There's something that's quite interesting with the geysers there, the geysers that were created by the Inspired. So they wanted it here in Chapter 6, and they remembered that they had the scene with walking across water in Chapter 1. However, they thought that the gap between the two was probably a bit too long, so people might have forgotten that Bayonetta could walk across water using the Witch Time. So they included the bit in Chapter 3, in the Paradiso, which is quite awesome. Now, you've got to be careful with these spikes, because you can't just jump over them and just burn vitality and burst through. That just doesn't work. So you've got to be very careful with your timing, and dodging through them will help. But you've got to be careful. And now it's time to murder more angels. Yay! Now, something that Kamiya-san brought up in his developer commentary, specifically with this verse, right about now as well, actually, is that when the angels go into their kind of post-breakage form, those were designed with a lot of love for Ultraman monsters. I think Kamiya-san's a big fan of it. It's particularly kind of like all the muscles and air sacs and everything. I think it adds to the slightly monstrous looking forms of the angels, which is, I think, which is just awesome, really. It's just fun that they do that. Now, if you actually look out to the grating to the right there, you can actually angle it so you can see the Alfheim up here that we are just going to, which is awesome. It's probably the only Alfheim that you'll actually be able to spot appear before you, that requires a bit of backtracking. But yeah, other than that, it's there. And this is the only Alfheim in the chapter, so be grateful. Because it could be a lot worse. I mean, it's a bit of a challenging Alfheim, I will admit that, but because it's a used torture attacks, and to get the torture attacks to work, you've got to kill an enemy with them, which is easier said than done. Now, one thing that you probably haven't realised, because it's not something that you would really notice, is that Bayonetta never kind of really gets knocked down. I mean, there is two kind of animations that are a bit annoying, but there's none of the get knocked down, try and get back up things like Sonic Unleashed's Werehog. And that's something that Kamiya-san has been very particular about since the original Devil May Cry. Basically, the whole thing is to keep the gameplay flow uninterrupted. It's also the main reason that kind of Kamiya doesn't do blocking that much, because he never wants the flow of the game to cease. So if you are knocked back, you're always animated getting back up immediately. So it is just something that he does, and I'm very grateful for it to him. I think that's the right way of saying that. The reason being is because kind of having that uninterrupted flow is just so helpful. You have no idea. I mean, unless you played Bayonetta, in which case you probably kind of know. It's just such unadulterated fun being able to do that. And largely because it's so frustrating when you have to try and get back up in the middle of a fight, and then you can get comboed whilst you're knocked down, and that's just frustrating. Whereas being able to just get back into the action immediately just kind of allows you to keep your combo going. So this achieves our torture attack quotient for the entire chapter. Well, not for the entire chapter, for the Alpine. But unfortunately we have to deal with Fairness and Fearless again, because they are such lovely enemies who just want to kill me constantly. And don't you just love a bit of a wheel of torture? I believe at this point in time it's needed. Just de-stressing on using a wheel of torture on someone. It's just particularly on these guys, because you need something very fitting to murder them. And that's the Alpine done. I did try my hardest to get it without getting hit, but I think by the end I was just like, I cannot be bothered. I just want to get on with this. That's generally kind of my running thing with the Alpines. I try as many times as I can to get it as good as I can. It's largely don't get hit and do it as quickly as possible. Don't really care about the combo score. But either way, so let's get all the way back on over to where we were. So thankfully that is the only bit of backtracking in this level. And to be honest, you don't really have any more bits of backtracking until around chapter 9, I think. No, it's on the topic of Magic Fall, then. Everyone carries within them a record of their evolution as a being since time immemorial. It is this inner knowledge that the magical arts called upon when a practitioner uses the transformative technique known as the Beast Within. While there is very little documentation regarding this technique, it is comparatively easy to guess at its workings. It is even easier when one considers how many works of art depicting this condition fill museums to this very day. These works capture the very moment when a witch transforms herself into an animal. Present-day interpretations never seem to escape the realm of dismissing these works as an artist's daydreams. However, when viewed from a different perspective, they are an important reference point in researching the magical arts. These pictures illustrate the unbelievable transformation of an Umbran witch via the most special of means, seeing her take the form of various animals. The witches were able to freely use this technique, transforming into beasts for incredible speed, or birds to send themselves soaring into the sky. And after we've had that wonderful thing, we have a fight against Grace and Glory. Woo. Now, I believe I did mention this last time, that, well, when we one of the previous times when we fought Grace and Glory, but when they were kind of initially loaded into the game with all of their movesets and everything, when there was more than one of them on the screen, they were impossible to defeat. Largely because I think all of them were trying to attack you at once, and that just, you couldn't do it. So, basically what they did was they put in the data and algorithms to make it so that when you're fighting one, the other takes the hint and doesn't really attack you that much. It just makes it a fair fight, which is what Kamiya-san and Don-san always want. And that's something I'm also very grateful to them for, because it's just great when you don't have to worry about the enemies cheating you out of a victory. And it also means that in Bayonetta, your success is based completely on skill. There is no luck involved. I mean, there's maybe some luck involved when it comes to the certain quick time events, particularly the Chapter 2, Chapter 3 ones. But other than that, doing well at Bayonetta is based solely on how skillful you are. So you need to go for it. Now, this bridge is kind of very nice. I quite like this bridge. Now, basically you cannot kill the enemies that are on the other end of this bridge. The reason for this being is that once you've crossed a certain bit, the bridge collapses and they're gone. Which is very helpful. Now, if you examine the bridge, there's a very leading thing saying that basically tells you to use Beast Within. But you can use Crow Within, and also I missed fighting 3 enemies. Oops. Basically you just turn around and they're there. Oh well, we have another of the wonderful action-packed scenes that Shimomura-san was very particular about. It's just great.
Come on. Cheating on me, haven't you? Someone else caught your eye? Oh dear.
Indeed.
Something tells me I'm going to regret this.
Now, you should probably remember that this little girl has just faced Bayonetta and is looking right at her. And here we have the return of Fly Me to the Moon. Oh yes.
fun to play savior. But I suppose I can make an exception and kill all of you. Just this once, of course.
And so we have our first out-of-body battle. Now, basically in this battle, so Bayonetta's real body is protecting the little girl, and she's projecting this spirit form to tackle all of the angels. You do get an achievement for not letting anybody attack your body, so you're going to want to do that. Particularly helpful if you use the Gaze of Despair, but obviously it's not required. You can beat all of the enemies without using it. I just find it more fun, particularly because it means that my combo score is going to be great for this chapter. Now, doing this whole protection thing is apparently quite like Tank Battalion or Battle City, which I think are kind of early 80s kind of games by Namco. So yeah, the Tank Battalion is a multi-directional shooter arcade game in 1980, and I believe Battle City was the same, but that was for home consoles. I love you. I love this version of Fly Me to the Moon. It's just kind of so cheesy and J-poppy. It's just brilliant. It fits the bill for me.
And let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like. Mommy! Was I just singing? Mommy!
I love this cutscene so much. It's so adorable.
Slow down, little one. I am not your mother.
But, Mummy...
Will you quit calling me Mummy? Oh. If there's two things I hate in this world, it's cockroaches and crying babies. Well, a crying baby cockroach would be truly terrible. So don't you dare cry.
Yes, Mummy.
Fine. You've got to be a strong little one to survive in a place like this. What's your name, anyway?
Teresa.
Cereza? You're not from Figrid, are you, little one? Where are you from?
I'm from my house.
Oh,
Well,
so
I'll
adorable.
hazard a guess this isn't your home. So what on earth are you doing here?
My daddy told me to come
So the musical piece for this cutscene is Cereza. It's just adorable.
He was at work, but now I don't know where he's gone. I want to go home.
I can't just drag you along wherever I go, little one. So you'd better not be getting attached to me.
Yes, Mummy?
Come now, little one. I'll help you out of here, but that's all. And you have to promise there'll be no crying. A single tear and you'll be crying alone. Got it?
Okay, Mummy.
I'm just in love with that cutscene. And I'm also just in love with Cereza in general. She's just the most adorable little thing ever. Nice little thing that you might not notice is that Cereza will always toddle after Bayonetta, and will appear kind of behind her. However, when she's in camera view, she will kind of just run after you. But if you move the camera so she's not in view, she will kind of warp behind you. It's great. So, the Laguna Faith and Vigrid's Rise. In recent days, Vigrid has seen the rise of the Ithavold group, a conglomerate whose rapid development has changed the face of the city. Their man-made island off the coast of Vigrid, Isla del Sol, is a clear example of their technological style. It is a modern metropolis home to many residents. However, their flight from the old city has led to the onshore historical district's rapid decline, a process that will likely end in the areas becoming ruins free of inhabitants. Those who live on Isla del Sol... Just give it a second... and those who have remained in the old city all worship the Laguna, gods who are the heart of their faith, in many ways like sun worship. This faith has been at the people's core since ancient times, and forms the very heart of their cultural development. It is said that the Ithavold group itself was developed in conjunction with the Laguna, and its CEO is held up as a paragon of Laguna worship, the living symbol of the people's faith. He is purported to be descended from the said-to-be annihilated Lumen sages, although I cannot confirm the veracity of this claim. At any rate, the devotion which people hold towards the Ithavold group is without question. Vigrid's appearance is not the only part of the city to have changed completely. The ancient faith in the Laguna is now inexorably linked to the Ithavold group, as it pushes forward its modernizations. Thus the city has lost its previous visage, to be replaced at alarming speed, and all with the apparent consent of the Laguna worshipping Vigridians.